Called y'all here today to give you an update on the murder case of Terrence Smith and Eric Thomas that occurred on October the 20th of this year. Back on October the 20th, deputies received a call approximately 1 a.m. in the morning of some suspicious activity. They arrived on scene. Searching the area, they were able to locate a deceased individual at an abandoned residence. That individual was Terrence Smith. Violent Crimes Unit was called out to the scene and immediately began an investigation. It was a complex forensic scene, lots of physical evidence in multiple locations. It was determined that Terrence Smith lived directly adjacent to this house, but this house that he was located at was abandoned or was not currently being lived in. We had reason to believe in evidence that night that there had been another person on scene named Eric Thomas. Eric Thomas lived right up the road and was an associate of Mr. Smith's. And throughout that evening and all throughout the next day, we were unable to locate Eric Thomas. I believe it was later that next afternoon we put out a request to the media naming him as a person of interest, trying to locate Mr. Thomas. A lot of folks have said a lot about him being called a person of interest. Well, he was. We needed to find him. We did not name him as a suspect at that time, but as I said, we had evidence that he had been on scene that evening. We had a deceased individual, and he could not be located. We could not find him, nor could his family find him. We continued searching for him, enlisting the aid of the family, and continuing our investigation into Mr. Smith's death. And by the next day, when we still had not been able to locate Mr. Thomas, a missing persons report was filed. We had already, before that time, searched the area with bloodhounds. We called out our drone units and drone team. We requested assistance from Tuscaloosa Police Department's aviation unit, had helicopters search the area, and we had dozens of investigators searching, knocking on doors, searching wooded areas, searching the highways, and as well as investigative means were being undertaken behind the scenes. That included where he was in the days before he went missing, financial histories, follow-up with friends, relatives, and acquaintances. We were doing everything that we could possibly do at that time to find him. As I mentioned, the family was assisting us in trying to locate him. Everyone was concerned in conducting searches. Many of their family members came out and were looking in different areas known to them and just in the area in general. On the 23rd, several miles away, at another abandoned house that's barely visible even from the road, they did find Mr. Thomas deceased in this house. At that point, it had already been suspected by us. After we had not been able to locate him for the first 24 hours, that he may have been a victim as well. Of course, this confirmed that. And since that time, the Violent Crimes Unit has been working tirelessly on this case. As of yesterday or the day before, when I put it out, we have arrested 2 individuals for the murders of Terrence Smith and Eric Thomas. And they've been identified in the press release, but I'll identify them now as Barry Donnell Craig, he's 51 years of age, and Wesley Alexander Rice, who is 31 years of age. Those arrests stem from indictments that were true billed at a grand jury by evidence that was presented to the grand jury. This is a complex investigation. This is not something that we believe occurred by happenstance. We do not believe that this was a chance encounter of these individuals and emotions got the better of anyone. This was not the case in this crime. There was thought beforehand put into it, evidenced by both victims being placed in different locations and evidence that we found at the locations that allows us to know the sequence of events that occurred. Because of that, a lot of the information that we know is going to be held and not released for the integrity of the investigation. for several reasons. That's the primary reason. The second reason is the case, once it's been indicted, is now formally the case is in the control of the district attorney's office. So the Violent Crimes Unit will continue to investigate as the chief investigators of this crime. And I would like to say this as well, for folks that aren't in law enforcement, an arrest is not the end of an investigation. An arrest, in many ways, is just the beginning of an investigation. The investigation is not complete till this case goes to trial. And we will continue to work on this case in the months and possibly years to come. And we are confident in our case. The amount of information that I have released concerning this has been little and slow. That's been done for the integrity of the investigation and also out of respect for the families. Yesterday, I did not release anything early because I was not going to until I had had a time to personally meet with the families. We met with them yesterday afternoon, and I wanted to meet with them along with our investigators to make sure that they had their questions answered and that they understood the process as it was playing out before we released this. As we all know, rumors and innuendos by social media or otherwise sometimes can take on a life of their own. And all of these cases, including this one, is too important to the victims' families for us to do anything to jeopardize a successful prosecution of this case. And because of that, we are going to be very tightly held with the specifics of what we know. But I would like to say again that we're confident in our case, and these individuals here have committed a heinous crime, and we're proud that they are in the Tuscaloosa County Jail today, and we look forward to their day in court. So.
Can you tell us anything about like the underlying felony that saw the charge elevated to capital?
Yeah, so Mr. Craig, at one point during this investigation, a search warrant was conducted at his residence, and among other things, a firearm was located. He was charged with that. He's had multiple violent arrests in his past. Some of those cases he was convicted on, some he were not. I would encourage y'all to look into his criminal history. But he has been convicted of some violent crimes in the past, and because of that, he was a prohibited person. So, and just to give you an example of how methodical and how correct and how our guys in our unit does things the right way. We had evidence to charge him at that time for that crime, although he was a suspect in this murder, but we did not because we had to continue our investigation until we were confident that we had what we needed. But he was charged at that time and made bond on that. We were later able to get an indictment for the murder and then go rearrest him. So,
Jack, I know you said that this wasn't by chance, and in the press release you said that there was an ongoing dispute.
Right.
Can you elaborate any on that, or is that?
I'm not going to comment on that again because of this, but yes, there would have been an ongoing dispute that had gone back for some time between one of the victims and one of the suspects. So we believe that was probably, it's not a justifiable motive, of course, but they did know each other. They did have a disagreement. That it was an ongoing disagreement. There had been threats levied toward the victim, and this response here is beyond the pale for what this argument was about. But
Captain, do you anticipate any additional arrests?
It's always possible. Like I said, this investigation is ongoing, and just because these two are arrested does not mean that they're the only ones involved or that they are the only ones involved. And if we get probable cause or develop evidence on any other individuals as we are working on, as I said, this is not the end of this investigation by any means, then there's definitely a possibility of other arrests.
And they were shot to death?
I believe that's been released. I'd say that, yes.
With the other murder charge that was on the jail logs, apart from the capital, is that?
So that the charges were done by the grand jury upon the legal advice of the district attorney, so they would be the appropriate ones to comment on that. But basically, in a nutshell, from my understanding, which I believe is correct, is you can be charged for if you meet different elements of the same crime. And we have 2 victims here. Capital murder can occur many different ways. There's many different elements of that. One of those elements is to kill more than one person through the same course of conduct, right? But that's only one charge of capital murder. We have 2 victims. And then there's other ways also that you can commit capital murder through through the course of a sexual, not in this case, this hadn't happened, but just give you the shooting of a police officer in the line of duty would be capital murder. Through the burglary in the first degree would be capital murder. So there are different elements and different different statutory ways that people can be charged. Those charges, you would ask the district attorney to make sure that they correctly explained why those were done the way that they were.
Captain Kennedy, with the second victim, Eric Thomas, do you guys believe that he was killed at the same time Terrence Smith was, and their bodies were just put in different places?
I'm not going to get into any of that, but yeah, these individuals here were responsible for both murders. So
Jeff, the indictment documents mention an abduction or attempted abduction. Are you able to
that
talk
may have
about-
been one of the statutory elements that we believe we met.
Now, are you able to talk about the circumstances of that?
No.
What was the relationship between the 2 victims?
They were friends. They both lived in the area and were friends. They knew each other well.
What is the relationship with these abandoned homes? I saw that Barry Darnell Craig at one point had lived off of Old Fayette Road in Northport.
He lived nearby. So, like I said, all of the 2 victims and the victims and suspects knew each other. The 2 victims were close acquaintances, close friends. Some might even say kind of family-like. The suspects also were very close acquaintances, if not family, some extended family to each other. And there was a disagreement between one of the suspects and one of the victims. Okay, and we think, that they were found together or otherwise, but or maybe the disagreement, I don't know. They would have to explain to us why they decided to murder both of them. But that's not a motive for a crime of this magnitude. But that was present. We do know that there was an extended argument that had been going on for months, if not longer, where threats had been levied at one of the victims. So.
Do you guys have the U.S. Marshals assist you guys? Were the arrests made in Tuscaloosa or outside the county?
Mr. Rice's arrest was made in Huntsville with the aid of the Marshals Task Force in Huntsville, and Craig's was made here in Tuscaloosa County.
Had the suspect been cooperative?
No. Well, I mean, I'll back that up. They have been. Yeah, I'll say no.
Is this a personal dispute or a business dispute?
Personal.
For you, with Craig, having previously been charged in 2001 with some crimes, later pardoned, and here we are today for this press conference. For you as law enforcement, does that make you want to be able to encourage lawmakers or the State Board of Pardons or other agencies to be more aware or make changes to any of our laws?
I'm not in a position. I'm not familiar with the laws of how pardons and all that work, and I just can have faith that there's good folks doing that job, just like we have good folks here doing these jobs here, and that they're doing they're making the best decisions that they can. I met with the family yesterday, and one of the things that I told them is that law enforcement is constrained because we have to go by the law and we have to tell the truth. Our suspects and defendants in our other cases aren't constrained by either one of those factors. And that's the difference between having a moral and just society and having anarchy. And so I can only have faith in our state officials and appointed and elected representatives that they're doing the best possible job that they can and making the best possible judgments that they can based upon the law and the procedures that they have to do to be fair to everyone. But I'm not an expert in how that process occurs.
Captain, just off the top of your head, do you know what homicides these are, number 10, 11?
I do not have that off the top of my head, but I can get that for you.
Okay.
Any believe that these two suspects are connected to any other recent murders, homicides, or missing persons, not just in Tuscaloosa but other counties?
Not that we're aware of at this time. I would like to say again that I would ask for y'all to respect the family. There's a lot of extended family that lived in that area and throughout the state. This is by all of our encounters with them. These are very, very good folks, and both of these suspects in no way brought this on themselves. Not to say that anyone ever does, but they were in no way did anything that we've been able to uncover that would indicate that they had any participation in anything that would lead to something like this. And we would ask that y'all respect them as much as y'all can. I know y'all have got a job to do. This is very traumatic for them, and we've got a long way to go in this case. Speaking to Mr. Craig and Mr. Rice's prior histories, and they may have had reputations out in the community, there is no bond for capital murder. They will be incarcerated to a trial where they'll be found guilty. If there is anyone out there that has information about them being involved in any other crimes or this one, now it's time to come forward. They can't get to anyone, they can't influence anyone, and they're where they need to be. So if anyone does have that, we strongly encourage them to come forward at this time. We have investigators 24 hours a day that can meet with you. We can meet with you anonymously. We can meet with you, privately, or however it is that you would like to go, but we would welcome people to do that. It would not surprise me for individuals that committed a crime of this magnitude with their criminal history to be responsible for other things.
Anything else you want to say?
Thanks, Jack.
All right?
Thank you.